Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dropping Down from the Rafters podcast here on Toned In Entertainment. Now, honestly, I think this might be the coolest setup I've ever seen here on the podcast. It is so badass. Joining me here on the channel is Rika Wildlee. How you doing, Rika?
Doing great, brother. Doing great. Thank you for finally getting this podcast going, man. I know we've been in the process of getting this interview the last couple of weeks, so I'm glad it's happening tonight. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Man, it is. How much energy do you use in order to what's your electric bill like there, Rika?
Look. I can tell you this, man. It's one of those things that it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to keep these lights big and bright. And I'm constantly working to keep them going, keep them changing and swapping and everything else. And I can't be happier that it's, became a thing in the wrestling world that people expect to see the lights when I come out,
Okay, well, I can tell you Cherry Bombs right now says, wow, love the colors and the paint.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. It means a lot to me. I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this entire gimmick. I usually rock the top hat, but I didn't because this is a new setup, a new little something that I've been working on. I mean, I got the top hat here, but sometimes I sport the top hat, sometimes I don't. But keeping people on their toes, you know what I mean?
You have to. I appreciate, the world of professional wrestling, there's so many wrestlers out there, right? And it's like, you have to stand out here in 2025. And Rika, you are definitely standing out. So when you went into creating Rika, what was your thought process?
Well, the thing is, man, is I've wanted to be a wrestler since I was a kid, and I've always been kind of captivated by the history of wrestling and kind of clowns and things like that. I was a huge character fan growing up. I love wrestling, don't get me wrong, but it was the characters that really drew me in. The Undertakers, the Canes, the Doinks, the Dinks, you know what I mean? The characters. And taking wrestling that we know and love as entertainment based and everything else, I thought about it long and hard, what has been done in the wrestling business and what could be done, but tweaked a little bit. And I know a lot of wrestling fans nowadays don't understand this, but everything that we know and love about the business nowadays started at the carnival, started as a sideshow attraction. You know what I mean? So I'm a walking, talking history lesson when you really get down to it. So I want to teach everyone that is involved in wrestling, the fans, the other people in the locker room, everybody that is part of the wrestling world. I want to show them that what we do is so much bigger than just walking out there and performing. It's so much more in depth. So that's where Rika come from.
I was going to say, I'm a guy that grew up with those same characters, again, Sting is my all-time favorite. I love the storylines. As much as I love the athleticism of professional wrestling, what really drew me into it as a kid, as a teenager, even as an adult, is you could hook me with those great storylines, and those character moments and stuff like that. Stuff that could talk forever. As great as Kurt Angle was, people still talk about the milk truck and stuff like that. There's certain situations that just stand out forever. Is that something that you think maybe is lacking in the world of professional wrestling today? Do you think it's more about the moves and the holds versus the characters?
Well, you think about this. Let's just say I'm going to go 80s. It's happened before that, but I'm going to go 80s. In the 80s, there was a lot of characters and the moves wasn't really too flamboyant. There was a couple little high spots here and there, but they were very few and far between. And that's what people drew to, the storylines and the characters. So characters in the 80s. As it progressed into the 90s, it became characters and in-depth, over-the-top, wild storylines. Okay, and that is what drew the people in. Now, the moves were still, they were getting bigger and getting better, but it was more of a shock and awe factor more than let's see how many flips we can do. You know, if what we know is wrestling nowadays with the high spots and the flips and jumps and all that stuff was in the 90s, Jeff Hardy wouldn't have got over like he did. You know what I mean? He's the innovator in a way of that style of wrestling that we know nowadays. The crazy flippy stuff. I mean, you had people like Too Cold Scorpio back in the day that was doing that kind of stuff. But when it come to mainstream WWF at the time TV, it was Jeff Hardy was that guy. You know, and nowadays it's not as many characters and more about the spots, more about how many, and your body's going to give out eventually. And, you know, you're breaking yourself down for almost nothing. And Jeff Hardy said it best. You can only raise the bar so high till you can't do it, you know, can't go any higher. You know?
Right. Absolutely. I know right before we started the podcast, we were talking about your name, Rika. And where it comes from. You want to give everybody a little information on the whole backstory.
Yes. Okay, so Rika Wildlee, when I was coming up with this character, the barker of the Bizzare. Okay, so Rika is a carnival barker. Come on, step right up. That is the whole shtick, bringing you in, pulling you into the entertainment value that we know as professional wrestling. So Rika, the name came from my D&D character in high school, which was Ricochet. When I was younger and I was in welding school, I used to make knives on the side. I used to make throwing daggers and things like that, like throwing knives. And I could take them and throw them against the wall and make them ricochet off the wall and stick in the edge of the roof. Like I could do it 100 times, in a row. And one of my friends was like, he started calling me Ricochet, and that is how that became D&D character and so on and so forth. So when I became a wrestler and started building this character, I got to doing the research on what I was going to go with and how I was going to tweak this to be something, you know, that's newer. Everything's been done in wrestling, but newer. And I took Rika from Ricochet, and I was going to be Rika the Wild Card Lee, because my middle name is Lee. My real middle name is Lee. And I got to doing some research and Facebooking and everything else, and I realized that throughout wrestling, there's about 1 million wild cards. Every other wrestler's a wild card. So I was like, yeah, know what? How about this? Rika Wildlee. Boom. And that's how that happened.
Oh, that's very clever. Yeah, it's like you don't want to be, you've worked so hard to create something as unique as possible. The last thing you want to do is be like, oh, he's another wild card. Like, no, he's not.
Right. And I've even went as in depth as, you know, people always come up with stories on where they're built from, where their character is from. Okay. And when I enter the ring, I am from your town. I am from your town. Why am I from your town? Because that's what a carnival does. It goes from town to town to town to town to town. And it's an instant draw. Because not only when they go, Rika Wildlee from your town, the barker of the Bizzare, blah, blah, blah. Now, even if the fans have no clue who I am, before they even see the lights or the mask or anything, they come out, now they're sitting on the edge of their seat going, wait a minute, from my town? Do I know this dude? You know, it's right here. Fishing, instant hook. And by the time I get the ring, they're already involved. They're already taken over because they're watching my mannerisms. They're watching my movements. They're watching everything about me to see if they can place who I am in their life. You know what I mean? I'm not from their town, obviously, but the fact is they're already captivated. They're already on the hook.
I love it. Let's see. Jade Gaming Real says the hometown advantage. Dad.
In every town, the hometown advantage.
Lord Diaz is in the house. My favorite detractor. What's going on, Lord Diaz?
Definitely what's up?
Now, guys. Yes, exactly. It's definitely a meme. We'll have to talk about later. So Rika, like when you come out, I mean, I feel like this is just an instant attraction, no pun intended, to like maybe like younger fans. Like I feel like maybe fans of all ages, like, but I feel like it definitely like gets the crowd excited when you come out.
Well, that's the thing, man, is, you know, I understand a lot of people have fascination with being scared of clowns and stuff like that, you know,
A
but
lot of people do, yes.
they really do. They really do. My wife included, which is that's a whole different story. We're not going there. But,
Okay.
but I'm just saying, like, I've had many, many promoters try to push me as a heel, try to push me as a bad guy because of the clown stigma that people are being scared of clowns and things. But my whole entire gimmick is built around showing the world that all monsters are human at the freak show. Everybody's weird. Everybody's bizarre. Everybody is different in their own little way, and it's okay to embrace it. You know what I mean? It's okay to embrace your flaws.
Yeah, let me give you like a little backstory. Once I went to Halloween Horror Nights down in Orlando. We were in our mid-20s or so, and I'm with dudes that are 6 feet tall, right? And all of a sudden, one of my friends is gone. He's running through Universal Studios because a clown is like, he's surrounded by clowns. None of them are chasing him, but the fact that we went through like the clown world or whatever at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, I've never seen a 6'5" guy run so fast in my entire life. I've never had a fear of clowns. I mean, as a child, like the movie It obviously scared me, but I've come to like love that movie now.
Right.
Why is it that you think that people, I mean, grown-ups are, and to have this, like, my sister actually is definitely afraid of clowns as well too. She will not watch any movie with clowns. What do you think that is?
I will say it's one thing and one thing only. If a clown has a smile on his face, he could be angry, but he's still smiling. He could be sad, but he's still smiling. You know, it's hard to judge someone by never being able to crack that smile. You know, and seeing that you can't, that's why masked characters are always pushed as bad guys, because you can't see facial expressions, which is a whole different thing in the wrestling world as far as knowing how to sell and things like that, because you can't do facial expressions. You have to do a lot of body language and stuff like that to show emotion through your actions, your physical actions, you know. But as far as people being scared of clowns, I think it's just the unknowing of what's behind the paint or what's behind the mask. That's the scary part.
What did your family think when you brought this character to life?
Oh, well, I've been painting my face since I was about 10 years old. 1,000 different ways and 1,000 different colors and 1,000 different designs. And I've always told them that I was one day going to be a wrestler, come hell or high water. It was going to happen. And I didn't know how, I didn't know when. I mean, I'm 35 years old, and I got in and went to an actual wrestling school and beat myself up at 30, you know. And after growing up and doing what I've done and having my family watch me try to pursue this dream that at the time wasn't going anywhere, and then being like, look, dude, you're 20, you're 22, you're 26, you're 30. Like it's about time to hang it up, man. I think it's, you know, it's time. And I was like, look, I can't live for you. You can't live for me. What you may be into, I may not, and what I'm into, you may not. That's what makes the world go round, and that's what makes this place a beautiful home that we call home. So I've got dreams that I will pursue and I will conquer one way or another. And you've had dreams that, you know, you've tried to conquer. But I'm one of those guys that at the end of the day, at the end of my lifetime, I may not have $1 billion, but the fact is I'm going to have some amazing stories. And I would have rather tried and failed than to have never tried at all.
I love that. And I absolutely agree with Jade's comment right here. He said, never too old for the dream. That's for sure. Because, you know, no matter what our age or whatever, as long as you can physically do it and mentally do it, then why not go out and do it, man?
Right. I mean, and I've had people that downed me from the time I can remember and talk mad trash about me. And, you know, you never grew up. I wasn't out chasing girls. I wasn't out partying like most teenagers was. I was still at the time on the trampoline and doing other dumb crap and pretending, you know. And all that kind of stuff. And then I had a kid at 17 and put it on the back burner for a couple years, and tried at 19 to go be a professional, and that was a flop. And then I, you know, grew up and got a job and all of that. And then at 30 years old, I just got married, and me and my wife was in Cancun, Mexico, sitting on the balcony feeding the birds, a real romantic setting, you know, early in the morning. And I looked over at her and I was like, I've got to try this. Like it's been sitting on my shoulders for years, and it was eating me, you know, eating at me every day. Why don't you try? Why don't you try? I'm watching wrestling and I'm just like, dude, I can do that. And I asked her, I'm from Louisiana, and I asked her, I was like, well, what do you think about moving to Texas? Dustin Rose just opened Rose Wrestling Academy. And I was like, well, how about we move to Houston? It's not but 4 or 5 hours away, and I could join that academy and maybe go through there and see what's up. And then the way it fell was amazing, because not 30 minutes later, one of my best friends that I've known since I was 14 years old messaged me on Facebook and was like, dude, a wrestling school just opened up about 15, 20, 30 minutes from your house. I said, no, dude. I said, hey, if there's a wrestling school around me, I'd be the first person to know. I'm like the biggest wrestling fan around here, you know. And me and 4 other guys was the first class to go through that school right after COVID, and the rest is history.
Wow. It seems like, you know, a lot of wrestlers that I talk to are 19, 20, 21, 22, you know, in that age. And you went at 19 to go do this. And, you know, in your words, you said it flopped. Why do you think it flopped, and what brought you back to this, you know, all these years? I mean,
I made a mistake, and it was a lot of young guys, especially earlier years of my life, at least. You know, I'd done the backyard bull crap just like most fans have. And I had found a little school in South Louisiana, or they called a school. It really wasn't a school. And I messaged the guy and I was like, hey man, I've kind of been self-taught in the backyard. I made it seem like I had done something online, you know, in black and white, it looked like that. But he goes, yeah, man, come down here. You give me $50, man. We'll train you for a couple of, you know, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever. And next month we'll put you in a show. That's all I needed to hear. Yeah, see that face right there. Yeah.
I see the red flags. But 19-year-old, you doesn't.
I was just like, you say I could work a real wrestling show in front of a real crowd at a real venue in a real ring? Say less, brother. I'm there. So I went down. My brother took me down there, and they beat the ever living dog crap out of me for 8 hours, and I paid them to do it. They made an example of me and never called me back. Never called me. Never. They blocked me on everything. And yeah, matter of fact, I got the DVD from them at the end of the day, because they recorded it on an old school DVD VHS camera, or not VHS camera, but DVD camera. And I still got it in my little safe. But that was a hard pill to swallow, that I come back home, I am beat to crap. Like I said, my kid was maybe 1.5 years old. I'm living with my son's mother and his parents, and I'm like, I'm really going to be a wrestler. You know, I'm hyping it up. I'm stupid excited, and nothing. So to jump back into that 3-ring circus, no pun intended, at 30 years old was it was a weird decision. That's all I can say. It was a weird decision, but I grew up, I'd matured since then, so I knew kind of what to expect, what I was walking into. You know what I mean?
What were the emotions going through you at that time? You know, after you say you got this beat down essentially, and you kind of got, maybe, I don't know if I would say swindled out of your money from that experience.
See, my older brother is the one, because he's been one of my biggest supporters since day one. Even when people were talking trash about me chasing this dream, he's been like, dude, if that's what you want to do, bro, go do it. You know, he's 5 years older than me. He's like, you know, ain't nobody live your dream for you. You know, he's always been that guy. And he's pushed me when everybody else was doubting me. But He's the one that fronted me the $50 and drove me down there. So at the end of the day, they beat the crap out of me, all that. And at the end of it, there was 4 guys, and they're probably, I'd say 6'2" to 6'4" a piece, and they at least weigh 200 plus a piece, per person. And they go, if you want to be part of this company, which I can't even remember, I think it was like XW something anyway. But they go, we each get 2 chops across your chest. Take my shirt off. They lay me against the ropes, and each one of them got 2 chops. I've never been chopped before, like legit chopped. And they each got 2 chops across my chest. And on the ride home, now I didn't weigh but maybe $135 at that time. I was skin over bones. I'm still small, but I was skin over bones. I mean, my chest, I had no meat on my chest, so they were slapping bone, man. And on the ride home, I've got blood blisters. You could have read their future on my chest. You know what I mean? Like, I had blood blisters all over from them chopping me so hard. And I'm in the passenger seat, and it's hard to breathe. Like I'm suffering over there. My brother's looking at me going, this what you wanted? Is this what you really wanted? Is this what you're asking for? And I'm trying not to be that guy at that age. I've got a kid, and I'm trying not to be the guy like it's too rough. This is my first time ever actually doing anything in a real ring. And for them to do that to me, it put a lot of things in perspective as far as how hateful this business can be if you allow it to be. Mm-hmm. If you don't stand your ground, and which, like I said in the beginning, it was my fault for trying to present myself as something that I wasn't. It was my fault. I was trying to get them to believe that I had done something and could work before I'd ever actually been trained. So they took it out on me. They made an example of me, and it taught me a lesson that I'll never, ever, ever forget.
Mm. Well, let's go to the positives here. We're here in 2025, and man, I've been going back and like watching your matches, and I mean, you've been involved even like in steel cage matches. Are you essentially like living the dream right now?
I am, man. I said this to my wife and my mom the other day. I said, it's 2025. My son is now 17. My wife and me have got a home. I built us a home. I've got my wrestling. I'm in good health. I've got my regular day job, so I've got money to support my dream. I can honestly say all around the table right now at this current moment, I am 110% happy.
I love that. You said, you mentioned, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and,
yes,
your love of professional wrestling. Of course, that just says coolness as a kid, growing up.
right.
Because I've told plenty of people growing up, like, I grew up, again, we're about the same age. So I grew up, loving, the characters and the, what is professional wrestling. And, I defended it as a young kid and everything. And I only had like one kid in my class that would watch pro wrestling as well, because it was right before the Attitude Era took off, where everybody was watching it. So like growing up as a kid, as a wrestling fan and a Dungeons and Dragons guy as well too. What was life like for you there?
Well, the thing is, man, is like I said, I fell in love with wrestling at 8 years old. And my little brother, who's a year and a half, 2 years younger than me, we kind of grew up watching it together. And even though I was way more into it than he was, and it wasn't even about, looking back at it now, it wasn't even really about the wrestling. I didn't see it then, but the reason I fell in love with the wrestling world is because it was an escape. It was an escape from what I was dealing with and my family was going through in the real world. And that, I never forget that when I go out there to perform and I see these people, they're not millionaires. These are sometimes little small towns, and, they scraped up their last little bit of money to come and buy some tickets to sit in that front row and forget for a short period of time about all the crap going on in the world. And I never forget that. And looking back at my childhood now, that's why I fell in love with wrestling so much, is because I couldn't be hurt in my world. I couldn't be touched there. I couldn't be, I was Superman. I was never a big superheroes, Marvel. And I mean, I liked them. I liked X-Men and things like that, but wrestlers were my superheroes, man.
Absolutely. Now, you said, performing. And so when people come to see Rika Wildlee live and in action, what can they expect?
The bright lights, baby. The bright lights every single time. I always try to make sure that they know that I know that they're there for the show. You're not just watching the show. I'm performing for you. You are the show. You got me here. Without them, we're nothing. I mean, what are wrestlers without fans? What are wrestlers without those people that paid their hard-earned money to come watch you? I've worked shows where there ain't but a handful of people there, and I'll perform the same for them as I would sitting in front of the JCW crowd at the Gathering of the Juggalos of 17,000. It really doesn't matter to me, because all wrestlers are fans at heart. We didn't get into this because we just decided one day to be a wrestler. We all got into this because we fell in love with the entertainment value, the characters, the moves, whatever the case may be. We fell in love with the world that was presented to us as kids, the escape of it all. And that's what I want to give back to the people, man. They deserve that.
I was going to say, I know how much, I've never stepped foot inside of a ring, but being somebody who works in the industry now, doing interviews and stuff like that, I know what goes into even just getting a show off the ground, the hours before the show, the hours at the show, the time after the show that goes into it, the traveling.
Right.
There's so much hard work and sacrifice that goes into this that people have no idea.
Look, I'm going to say last year, I worked 22 different companies in 8 different states and had 52 matches pretty much every weekend. Like had 52 matches throughout the year. And to somebody that travels 365, that's not a lot, but I also got a 5-day-a-week job. I'm a normal guy. I just love what I do. And being able to travel that much, I went from Louisiana, shot over to Atlanta, Georgia, 9.5 hours, wrestled at noon, got done at noon, shot over to Mendenhall, Mississippi, 6.5 hours away. At 7 that night, wrestled again, got done, jumped on a podcast at 9 o'clock, stayed for 3.5 hours on that, and then jumped in, got in the car and drove 4.5 hours back home, all in one day. So it is a lot of traveling, but like I said at the first of this podcast, at the end of our day, at the end of our lives, no matter who we are, what we've done, how much money we have, we're nothing but a bunch of stories. Why not make yours something worth telling?
Hell yeah, I love that. Now I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia now. So do you have any plans of coming through to this area?
Last year I worked for Stranglehold Championship Wrestling. I was at Flashbacks Arcade, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I just got here in November, so I'm still kind of a newbie to the area. Yeah.
Well, I work for Stranglehold Championship Wrestling, and they're planning on doing some shows. They're talking about doing a Cruise of Champions, which is kind of like a Jericho cruise, but for that company, and doing shows. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a thing or not. Last year when I went there, it's cool because, like I said, super big fan of 90s stuff. Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z announced my match. Yeah, he was there, and he sat behind the commentator's table and announced and commentated my match, which I thought was cool as shit. But I am planning on trying to get back over that way. I've got a couple in Florida that I'm trying to do, and I'm gonna reach out to some more companies in Georgia. I've been to Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Ohio, Oklahoma as of 2.5, 3 weeks from now, and Tennessee. So, I mean, I'm slowly making my rounds, but I just want to leave them with something to remember. Win, lose, or draw, if I go out there and I'm the best thing on the card, or if I crap the bed and I don't do good at all, there's one thing that they're going to talk about when they leave, and I promise you this, and that's that guy with the lights. May not even know my name, but they're going to talk about that guy with the lights.
Oh yeah, they will for sure. Absolutely. One of the questions I love to ask people, and I think, wow, you may have many answers for this, but I like to, obviously, and I mean, you're living proof that the world of professional wrestling is quite bizarro. And
right.
So what, whether it's a fan interaction or something crazy that happened in the ring, what's a bizarro moment for Rika Wildlee that stands out to you?
Well, here about 4 months ago, me and Jack Lovecraft at Warrior Wrestling Alliance in Lufkin, Texas, had a match. And it was called the Funhouse Surprise Match, which it was kind of similar to the match recently had in NWA, where they had just a bunch of gift boxes all around the ring, just multiple gift boxes of all shapes and sizes. And me and him, neither one knew what was in them. They had just bought a bunch of stuff and stuck them in there. There was a fly swatter in one. There was canned goods in another. There was a picture frame in one, a glass picture frame. There was light tubes in another. There was, I mean, I got suplex on a box full of pine cones. Yeah, that face right there.
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
But I'm just saying, that was the most bizarre, I think, one of the most bizarre moments in my career, outside of getting the opportunity to do the swanton off the steel cage. That there, gut wrenching, because I didn't get up there prior to the show happening. I just waited till the match was going on to climb up on top of the cage, and then I looked down and I'm like, man, this is way higher than it looks. But I'm never going to live it down if I just climb back down. They're never going to live it down. Right. Just close your eyes and jump. And it was great. It worked out perfectly, but very, very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you go up there first and think about it and do whatever, like, you're not going to do it later. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
that was my logic. It was just like
the adrenaline running through you in order to do it.
Exactly.
I've talked to a couple guys that have done those crazy things, and they're like, yeah, not until the match, because then once you get up there, like, you have to do it. You can't find out.
Right. Right. You can't back down now. I mean, I've watched the video back a dozen times showing different people, and I get up there and I'm looking down at old dude and I'm like, okay. And I mean, I'm kind of just rolling it over in my head, and I just kind of take a deep breath. And I'm like, okay, and here we go. And I just dive off. But in my mind, I'm like, I got to work tomorrow. I got to go to work tomorrow. I hope I can walk after this. That ring is made of 2x12s. It's not a trampoline. And that ring, or that cage, was 10.5 foot tall. And I'm like, eh. But like I said, I got super props for it. And to this day, every time I show up, they're like, oh, looking to steal the show again.
Hell yeah.
It means a lot to me, But you're right. In the moment is the best way to do that. Don't try to pre-plan it, because you're going to psych yourself out.
Yeah, I believe it. Now, you said you're a big 90s guy. What is one thing from the 90s you wish would make a comeback?
Jinko jeans.
Oh, you're going old school then.
Yeah, Jinko jeans. I was a huge Jinko bro. Like, I did. I used to have a bunch of pairs of Jinkos, man. And my first pair come from my older brother, because he used to rock them a lot. And yeah, Jinko jeans, man, because nothing, in my opinion, says 90s than Chuck Taylors and some Jinko jeans. And a wallet chain. I still rock a wallet chain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We all had the wallet chains at one point.
Right. I got one on my wallet right now.
it almost serves no purpose whatsoever to even have a wallet half the time. But
I mean,
it's cool though. It's cool.
Yeah, just a random accessory, but okay.
Right. Okay. Well, where can people catch you at coming up here, Rika?
This weekend I will be in Center, Texas, going against Jack Lovecraft once again for the Innovative Championship. I am the Innovative Champion for Warrior Wrestling Alliance in Texas right now. And those matches, because of the Innovative title, all have to be stipulation matches. Every single one of them has to have some kind of stipulation to it. Like that's where I won the belt with the Funhouse Surprise match. The last time I defended it was in a hammer on a pole match. I went against a Viking, and he has a big old Viking hammer, and they had it on a pole. We had a hammer and a pole match. And this one coming up this weekend. Have you ever heard of a Taipei death match?
I can say I have not. It sounds innovative.
Where they tape their hands up. It's actually like overseas do it a lot. The movie Kickboxer, which is an awesome movie, they done it where they tape the hands up, dip them in glass, and then that's how they fight. Okay. They like have glue and tape on their hands, dip them in broken glass, and that's how they fight. Now, we're not doing that. Instead, we're doing Legos. We're going to have tape on our hands, double-sided tape, and then we're going to dip them in a box full of Legos and a thing full of Legos, and that's how we're wrestling. And that's this weekend in Center, Texas at the Wyndham Civic Center.
And we all know who any of us who have stepped on a Lego, just stepping on it hurts.
Right.
So.
And it's really got me thinking because it was crazy when they first pitched this Innovative Championship becoming a thing and all that it entailed. I was like, man, a Lego Taipei death match. And I just thought it was going to go whoop, and then that would be it. It never be spoke of again. And fast forward 5 months, and they're like, so remember that thing you said that one time? I let my mouth overload my ass on that one.
Somebody wrote that down there. They kept it in the back of their mind.
For sure. The cool thing about Warrior Wrestling Alliance, though, and this is just a little fun fact, is the ring that they use, the owner of the company, Derek Chancellor, was actually Jason David Frank's understudy at his martial arts studio in Houston, the Green Ranger.
Oh, okay.
So the ring that they use that they do use is Jason David Frank's martial arts ring. Okay. Oh, wow. It was actually, they used it in, I want to say Turbo, Power Rangers Turbo. At the very end of the movie, when they're doing the karate tournament in the ring, I think it's the same ring. But the title that I have on the front of it is one half is a white tiger and the other half is a green dragon. And that is to pay homage to the White Ranger and the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, Rika, is there anything else that we should touch on while we have you here?
Well, man, I have been traveling all over, and I do have a couple other guys that I'm traveling with, and they're my family of the wrestling world, the family affiliated. The family affiliated is my freak show brothers. You got Smoke the Reaper, and he wrestles a lot in Texas. You've got my tag team partner, which right now we are the reigning defending CCW Classic Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champions out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. Eighth and Sorrow. Then you've got Gluttony, the Big Top Butcher. And we travel all over together, doing our thing, explaining to the world that no matter how odd, because we've been compared to, all these different factions, scary guys like the Wyatt family and things like that. And as much as I love them, a lot of people don't understand just by looking that we're good guys, we're faces. But all monsters are human at the freak show. Everybody it's okay to be bizarre. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to be odd. That's what makes the world go round. That's what makes this place a beautiful picture to paint. So now that people are getting to see us town by town by town, they're finally understanding that wrestling isn't black and white. Wrestling is not black and white. It is the brightest and most beautiful thing you'll ever see if painted right. We are the artist. You are the canvas. And it's our job to paint the picture.
Yeah, the worst thing is when wrestling does become black and white. That's the boring, like it's gone through that phase, but we love it big, bright, and colorful always.
But see, and that's the beautiful thing is when it does get dull, it takes people like Bray Wyatt to put the color back in a world gone gray.
Good point.
So as far as that goes, I've got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. I've got all the socials, man. I'm literally, which is a pretty cool fun fact, I'm literally the first thing that pops up on Google when you type in Rika Wildlee, which is very hard to do. I'm just saying. But yeah, you type in Rika Wildlee on Google search and all of my stuff will pop up. I got a pro wrestling tee store. I've got over 30 different designs. I've created all of my own gear. Everything that you see, I have done myself. The only thing that I didn't do was my boots and my mask because I don't know how to work latex like that. But my boots and my mask are the only things that I have not created. My tights, my gear, my jackets, my shirts, all of that I've done myself. My logos and designs on my pro wrestling tees, there's over 30 of them. I've designed all of those myself. All the videos you see, I all do that myself. I was doing media management work and logo design and stuff like that before the wrestling. So it was already there by the time this become a thing. But
yeah, it definitely helps, right?
oh yeah, it saves me a lot of money. But I would love for everybody out there to follow me. Give me a chance. I hope you like what you see. I'm always going to try to entertain as best as possible and keep the positive vibes rocking, town to town, show to show. Every time I step in the ring, I want you to get something. I want you to get something to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Rika, I got to compliment you because, man, I see you out there promoting yourself like crazy. And I have an appreciation for, people that are trying to get out there, trying to get their name out there, trying to make something. You just can't wait around for people to come to you. Sometimes you have to go out there and make it happen. So I definitely want to compliment you on like all the promotion that you're doing out there and really working and putting your dream out there and really, busting your butt essentially to make this happen. So I definitely want to give you props for that.
I really appreciate it, man. I'm not going to lie. It's hard work at times. And I've explained this to a lot of wrestlers, and I hope other wrestlers that are watching this take this to heart. If you are promoting yourself, if you are pushing your product, if you are looking at your character as not only a character, but a business, and you are pushing that business to get in front of all these different eyes, and you happen to have people unfriend you, stop following you, whatever, understand this. And it's simple. It's really, really simple. They were never meant to be there to begin with. The ones that are meant to uphold your dream and watch you succeed and want to follow you and want to watch you, those are the ones that you do everything you're doing for. Care about them. Don't worry about the ones who don't care.
Man, just fantastic words to live by. I completely, I can feel that resonating. I know exactly where you're coming from on that. Well, Rika, I do want to thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it so much. I really do.
And please hit me up on the DM or anything if you're coming towards the Atlanta area or whatever.
I definitely will.
So I can try to make it out to a show or yeah, for sure. I would definitely love to come watch you in person. All the carnage, all the carny. Let's do it.
We'll have to do a live podcast like you did with old Kevin Nash.
Oh, well, yeah, no. It's just another day hanging out with Big Sexy,
I seen that, bro. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was just too sweet, if I could quote it. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was great. But yeah, definitely let me know. We'll definitely do something in person, 100%.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good, brother.
Well, guys and gals who watch this live, thank you so much. And for all those watching on demand, thank you so much. And please go give Rika Wildlee a follow and check out his stuff over on every social media. Yes, every social media platform. And
always remember also, beyond the big top, the carnival awaits. I love this.
You can tell. You can definitely tell. Well, definitely keep up the good work, guys. And Rika, and guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Tone and Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.